And anything, aside from the people in the story and the actual events of the story, the stuff, and the lost truck itself, the stuff is as accurate as I can make it about the Nazi system and about the mafia involvement since, and about the good faith purchaser arguments that are going on now in the legal world. So I have, although it's not my field, I've done my research and I've checked it out with experts in the field.
It's very solid history, and
I think so.
and like all readers of mystery, you have to have a certain bond of trust with the author that the factual stuff is going to be right. I mean, you just trust the author that when they tell you about what painting techniques Velasquez used, so that Ben Revere can try to decide if this is a real Velasquez or a fake Velasquez. I have to believe that the stuff you tell me is the real stuff.
And you better be, as an author, you better be right, because I know as a reader, if I'm reading a mystery that has any kind of factual or technical stuff on it, first time I find a mistake, even if it's not a technical mistake, it loses its credibility. I say this, like I remember reading a book that I was enjoying until the author, a prominent author, a suspense and thriller author, has someone sitting in the Space Needle restaurant in Seattle, which is a revolving restaurant, looking up high, looking out at the Pacific. Well, you can't see the Pacific from Seattle. You can see Puget Sound. Well, that's I realize that's a minor thing, and it's just, maybe it's just a slip of the pen. But it said to me, he wrote about this scene in the Space Needle, and he didn't go up in the Space Needle, and I don't trust the rest of what he wrote, and I didn't finish the rest of the book. But then I'm a very unforgiving reader, although I think there are plenty of people like me.
Well, there are, and I think whenever you're dealing too with historical stuff, it really, the whole nasty question of anachronisms and so forth. I mean, I remember once reading a very good Victorian or Regency historical, which at some point someone took an aspirin, and that was it for me, right out of there. And you're right, because if you're sort of engaged with the author in any kind of duel of wits or whatever, if you feel like the playing field is loaded with mines and pitfalls and all, and then you don't want to be there.
And it also takes away some of the pleasure, because instead of letting yourself get lost and float away, you're questioning, well, I wonder, now, is that true, or did he make that up, or didn't he research it?
Absolutely. And you do some interesting stuff in the art mysteries I love. Is it A Glancing Night, or the defenestration or is it Old Scores? I can't remember.
Old Scores. I had to think for a minute, what's defenestration again?
Sorry. Well, it's one of my favorite words. I can't resist, but it's
I always think it means breaking somebody's eardrums, and of course it doesn't. It
throwing themselves out the window. But anyway, I think defenestration is a wonderful murder weapon. It doesn't come along. And you do specialize in that in Icy Clutches, the Gideon Oliver book. It's the glacier disgorging the skeleton starts it all off.
You just get so tired of people getting hit on the head or shot, and so I've had people thrown from horses and bitten by snakes and falling into glaciers, and I think it adds a certain good stuff.
And you've done 16 books. You've done 9 Gideon Olivers, and you've done 3. You've been working hard since 47. You've done 3 Chris Norgrens, but I haven't mentioned, and I'd like to before we run out of time, you've done short stories that I know you've won an Agatha Award.
Half of an Agatha.
With your wife, Charlotte. Back to Charlotte. But you have done 3 golf mysteries with Charlotte. And golf is her avocation, right?
Right.
And they're really lots of fun. It was A Wicked Slice and Rotten Lies
and Nasty Breaks.
And I think, in particular, Rotten Lies has an absolutely brilliant method for murder, and also a particularly clever motive.
I think so too. The method for murder is based on a genuine case, by the way. So as extraordinary as that seems, that murder in Rotten Lies actually occurred.
And it takes place in a golf tournament, and so you've got you're back to that more traditional thing. Now we're in the world of golf, and we have a tournament and tournament players and so forth, and a female professional golfer, Lee Ofsted, who is the protagonist. So those are lots of fun. Are you and Charlotte working on another book?
Working on another one right now. I can only work on one book at a time, except when I'm doing one with Charlotte, because she's actually the creative person in those books, and I'm the wordsmith or the in-house editor. And so she'll typically work in the morning, and I'll work in the morning on my book. It's a Gideon Oliver right now. And then in the afternoon, I'll take a couple of hours and flesh out her. She doesn't enjoy tinkering with words, and I do. I find it relaxing.
I think I remember Charlotte said that she tends to do the plotting and then you do the tinkering.
I get about one good idea a year, and since it takes me about a year to write a book, it's just fine, and I hope it
Well, I don't
continues.
think of you as the speed king of crime fiction, even though you've produced this many books.
Even though, you keep working at it. And
Well, and also, and I said that to you the other night when I've listened to you talk about how this process works. Well, sorry, let's get rid of the word process. When I've listened to you talk about writing a book, how much pain there is in it for you, and I think that you are a person who really needs to suffer for art.
But but it's suffering like it's. But you don't find me saying I wish I had another job either.
No. I think it's a good bad thing, but I think for you that pressure.
Yeah.
I'm actually a deadline person. I can fool around and fool around and fool around and not get anything done, and suddenly and my life is just one deadline after another. My deadlines are a lot more unforgiving than yours. And it's 20,000 words a month or whatever it is. And all of a sudden, when I see there is no escape, it's incredible how it pours out. I mean, it's like, taking dictation. It's a little bit like Amadeus, only I'm hardly on that level of, taking the music down from God.
You're into so many different things that you must have a deadline. As soon as you make one deadline, you've got another one staring at you.
Probably, like 30 seconds.
Yeah, right.
But for me, it's deadlines. But for you, I think it undoubtedly is a deadline, too, because you're making your living as a writer, and you have to produce it at some point,
It's
and you don't
secondary,
get paid.
though. No, the deadline's secondary.
Right, but for you, I think it's really just wrestling. I think it's you engaging and wrestling this marble. Maybe Michelangelo was sort of in the same boat with you.
I like to think that.
That's a nice allusion with which we can...
There's an idea somewhere, and it's a better in there, and it's a better idea than I've got right now, or there's a better way of saying this, and it's in there somewhere, and how can I dig it out? Yeah, that's what I feel most days.
Coming back to, in fact, the very first episode in our criminal calendar program, my interview with P.D. James, she is the one who said at some point she is convinced that she is not creating a story, she's taking dictation herself, or she's...
What a wonderful feeling that would be.
Yeah, but she really does. At some point in her writing, she gets to the point where the story is telling itself, and her job is more to write it down than to make it up. And regrettably, much as I'd like to continue this, we just ran out of time. So I'm going to conclude by saying what a huge fan of your books I am.
Oh, thanks, Barbara.
And what a huge fan of you I am, because I'm, not only do I love the books and like you very much, but I appreciate the spin that you've always given us here in Scottsdale.
Well, it's mutual, so
well,
thanks.
Thank
It was
you.
great to have one of these talks in public for a change.
It has been very nice, and I hope that when you move back to Bainbridge Island from your circle tour of the United States, that you will still come to visit us as each book progresses.
Just ask.
Great. Thank you very much.